Money, fame, and addiction. Corey Haim's life and career were almost as tragic as his passing. But what secrets have we learned from the star's autopsy report? Corey Haim's death in 2010 came as a blow to Gen X movie fans who likely knew him from such films as The Lost Boys and Lucas.
An icon of the 1980s whose brilliance won over millions of hearts, Corey Haim passed away far too soon under a cloud of whispers and conjecture. However, what led to his untimely demise? Today, we distinguish fact from fiction and reveal the reality behind the headlines.
Haim had long struggled with addiction, and after he became unresponsive in his Oakwood, California apartment, many speculated that he finally succumbed to his substance use issues. Prescription drug use was certainly an ongoing problem for the one-time teen heartthrob.
After a lengthy battle with drug addiction, actor Corey Haim passed away on March 10, 2010. His childhood spent in the spotlight, with all of the pressures and temptations that are frequently too much for young people to manage, left him with lasting physical and mental scars, like many child stars. Known for his parts in films from the 1980s, such as Silver Bullet, Lucas, and The Lost Boys, Haim rose to prominence as a rising star and a romantic interest. Roger Ebert noted Haim's performance in 1986's Lucas, which he filmed at the age of 13, according to CNN. If he continues to act this well, he will never become a half-forgotten child star, but will continue to grow into an important actor, added the critic. Unfortunately, such a prediction was thwarted by pharmaceuticals. On the Lucas set, Haim began drinking beer, but soon after he switched to crack, cocaine, cannabis, and more. He was no longer in the public eye by the mid-1990s. "I think I have an addiction to pretty much everything," he said in a 2007 Larry King Live interview, as reported by CNN.
Sadly, drugs got in the way of what should have been a storied career. Haim started drinking beer on the set of Lucas and quickly transitioned to weed, cocaine, crack, and more.
In that sense, I have to be cautious with myself, which is why I constantly surround myself with a support group. Ironically, though, Haim's death was caused by something other than drugs. According to his coroner's report, pneumonia-induced lung enlargement, known as diffuse alveolar damage, DAD, was the official cause of death. His life was going well, and he was in the midst of a clean phase. But catastrophe happened at that very moment. Haim's last day, as his coroner's report explains, Corey Haim's last day eloquently captures his terrible fate, if the broader picture of his life isn't already depressing enough. This is particularly relevant because he was living with his mother, Judy, at the time, and she was present during the whole process that ended in his death. It was she who looked after him on his last day. It was she who believed that giving him Robitussin and Tylenol would be beneficial. When he passed out and began to shake, it was she who dialed 911. Before medical help arrived, she was the one who administered CPR. After her kid passed away, she was the one who had to tell the physicians everything. The investigator narrative portion of Haim's coroner's report provides a startlingly detailed account of Haim's final day. Judy believed that although he had been ill, he was improving. On March 9th, he started to have a temperature and a really bad headache, and his breathing became short and fast. Judy phoned emergency services after he went to bed at 4:30 p.m., woke up at 12:30 a.m., strolled toward the kitchen and bathroom, fainted, and began to shake. Haim had no pulse when he got to the hospital at 1:05 a.m. His pulse returned by 1:38 a.m. when the doctors defibrillated him, inserted a tube in his throat, and administered a saline drip. He began to fade once more at 1:58 a.m. when CPR was halted. He was declared formally dead at 2:15 a.m. No drugs contributed to his death. Corey Haim's autopsy report states that drugs were non-contributory to his death, even after accounting for his problematic history of substance usage.
I believe that his death was accidental or otherwise, but I don't believe it was by his own hand. I don't believe it was his own doing, and I don't believe it was his intentions. I don't think this was a suicide, and I don't think it was an intentional overdose.
THC was found in his corpse, and according to the investigator's account, his mother acknowledged that he may have consumed cannabis 2 days before passing away. In addition, Haim possessed a large number of prescription and over-the-counter medications, all of which were legitimately prescribed. Additionally, Haim showed no signs of abusing prescription drugs or having suicidal thoughts. He was improving, as we had discussed. Nevertheless, Haim had several pre-existing medical conditions that might or might not have played a role in his diffuse alveolar damage, DAD, which was the cause of his death. The investigator's account claims that he smoked and may have had excessive blood pressure. Years before, he had been diagnosed with a cardiac murmur, and according to a graphic on his autopsy report, one of his heart's blood channels had narrowed by 50 to 60%. None of Haim's death reports addressed the possible causes or contributing factors to the pneumonia that resulted in his DAD. Acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS, a condition involving fluid accumulation in the lungs that typically arises from traumas, is strongly linked to DAD, according to the Annals of Thoracic Medicine. However, according to Radiopedia, drug use can potentially result in ARDS. Even though Corey Haim had a problematic drug past, his death was unexpected because he was sober. Christopher Amoroso, a CNN photographer and Haim's neighbor, claimed that the star had gained a healthy amount of weight in the days before his passing. Haim's weight fluctuated between the 1980s and his death, reaching 300 pounds, 150 pounds, and finally a solid 200 pounds, which his coroner's report states was his weight at the time of his death. According to Amoroso, Haim was spotted strolling about his apartment building, looking for companionship, looking for friends. Corey Feldman, one of those pals who starred alongside Haim in The Lost Boys, was particularly saddened by Haim's death. "I wasn't even open all the way when the tears started streaming down my face," Feldman stated in a very intimate confession on CNN. Corey, his mother, Judy, his family, my family, all of our followers, and of course my son, to whom I will need to tell this when he gets home from school, have my deepest sympathies. Haim's inspiration, James Dean, gives his death yet additional melancholy undertone. According to a comment from the Los Angeles Times, Dean is such a legend, even though he only made 3 films. He is regarded as quite intelligent. He was so unpolished. All I want is to be as well known as Dean was. All I want is for people to believe that I'm good. And that is the real story of Corey Haim's untimely death, a devastating reminder of the hardships that Hollywood's biggest stars face. The facts show a life cut short by a mix of health issues and the demands of celebrity, notwithstanding reports to the contrary. What do you think about the legacy of Corey Haim and the lessons that his story might teach Hollywood? We would love to hear your thoughts, so please share them in the comments section below. Please give this video a thumbs up if you thought it was informative, and forward it to others who might be interested in learning the real story behind the headlines. To be the first to know when we release our next story, remember to click the notification bell and subscribe to this channel. We appreciate your time and hope to see you in the next video.